In my story, there is a turning point that shattered my life and will surely capture your attention. I thought I had it all, a perfect life, a perfect love. However, I was wrong. I came home to find my beautiful wife in bed with my best friend. The betrayal hit me like a freight train. Rage, sorrow, disbelief, I felt them all at once. How could I not make them pay? Welcome to the Butterfly Tumblr Radio channel. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. There was a little girl who lived next door. She was 4, had blonde hair, blue eyes and round chubby cheeks. She always followed my younger sister around. Her name was Emily, and she gave me a nickname that stayed with me my whole life. My name Ethan was hard for her to say. She called me Anu. My family thought it was very funny. One day, when my grandma Jane was visiting, Emily ran up to me, grabbed my leg and giggled Anna, and she was hiding from my sister, Sarah. Grandma Jane couldn't hear very well. She asked my mom why does she call him Anna. And from then on everyone called me Anna. It became a family joke. We had a big family, Irish and French Catholic. There were 14 aunts and uncles, 3 grandparents and 58 first cousins. Our family had lots of common names like James, William, Robert, Donald, Mary Jane, Margaret, Jenny and Jean, but there was only one Anna. That nickname made me feel special, but the same girl who gave it to me would later take away that feeling from my broken heart. But I'm getting ahead of myself. When I turned 14 and Emily was 9, my dad had to go to Kuwait for Operation Desert Storm. He was in the army, working to clean water, and was supposed to be safe in Saudi Arabia, far from the fighting. After weeks of training, he came home for a short visit before leaving on his last day. He took a walk with me. Anna, I don't know how long I'll be gone, maybe a year. You need to take care of your mother and sister. Your mom has never been alone. I didn't really understand, but I told him, sure, Dad, we'll be fine. I felt almost grown up at 510, only a bit smaller than Dad. You'll move back to Beddington to be with the family. Your mom will need their help. You can stay in the old cabin. I couldn't believe it. I was about to start high school and didn't want to leave my friends and team. The decision was made without me at the airport. I was still mad. Dad noticed and pulled me aside. I know this is hard. Life is hard sometimes. You have to be strong for your mother and sister. I'll be back soon. Son, for Sarah, it was an adventure. For Mom, it was a chance to be with family. For me, it was hard. I like the small town and the outdoors, but leaving my future behind was tough. It's just a year, I told myself, but for Emily it was the end of the world. She was always crying and clinging to me. She had a crush on me, which was cute before, but now felt sad when we were about to leave. It took me 10 minutes to get her to let go of me. I hugged her and promised I'll be back soon. BBE, Dad was right. He came back sooner than expected. 6 days after arriving in Darren, a missile hit their camp. The war seemed almost bloodless for our side, but 114 Americans died, including Dad. We returned to Greensburg to sell the house and visit other families from Dad's unit. There was a lot of sadness and anger. Emily was happy we were back, but sad when she realized it wasn't for good. Losing Dad hurt a lot. The only thing that helped was Emily. She would find me when I was down, climb into my lap and hold me. I was 14. She was 9. I had to grow up fast, and she lost her innocent view of the world the day we left again. She didn't hug or kiss me. She stood a few steps away crying and staring at me angrily. She hugged Mom and Sarah but backed away when I tried to approach her. Goodbye, Anna. She said before running off. Goodbye. BB. Years later, when I was 19 and Emily was 14, I had the grades to get into most colleges. I chose Carnegie Mellon because it was a great school and I could get most of my education paid for, plus a scholarship from the Greensburg VFW made it easier. I was going back home. I took a year off after high school to work, save money and help with home expenses. Mom worked too, and with the money we got after Dad's passing, we managed in Beddington. Jobs were hard to find, but we made do. A third of the people in our town drove over an hour each way to the city every day. It had been 5 years. I hadn't thought about Emily much in the last few years. The first couple of years after moving, I was a loner. I hid in my books, played sad songs on Dad's old guitar in my room and kept to myself. I'd call my old friends sometimes and talk to Bea about school, but it was hard without seeing each other. Slowly the calls stopped and I moved on. I built a new life. I had cousins my age who felt like siblings and new friends from school. I had 3 girlfriends over time. The latest, Laura Thompson, was special to me. We would hang out in the fields behind her house on a dark green blanket, and I felt very close to her. Leaving her was tough, but college was calling. As I drove to Pittsburgh, I wondered what happened to Emily, the lanky 9-year-old who had a big crush on me. I told myself I'd try to find her, but without a car and living on campus. It was tough. I had grown up fast and focused on school more than many others. I had to do my best for my family and myself. I made a few good friends, even though I was too serious for some, or so I thought. I'm getting ahead of myself. Ben let me use his car for the weekend. If I filled up the tank, it took about 30 minutes to drive to my old neighborhood. I was nervous more than I should have been. I walked up to the door and rang the bell at 10:42 a.m. on a Saturday. It's funny the things you remember. She opened the door and I knew her right away. 5 years made a big difference. She was taller, pretty, with long hair and those big eyes. Honor, she said, unsure. I had changed too. I was now 210 pounds, looking like my dad. She ran to me, hugging me tight. Honor, she shouted, kissing my face and tearing up. I laughed, hugging her back. Miss me, B, I teased. I walked into the house, Emily clinging to me. Like always. Her mom was in the kitchen and looked up surprised. A little help, Mrs. D, I asked. She laughed and hurried over, nearly knocking Emily off me, hugging me tightly. You back? She asked. She helped get Emily off me. Emily kept touching my arm and shoulder to make sure I was real. I'm going to school in Pittsburgh, Carnegie Mellon. I explained. We had a nice lunch catching up on family news. They were moving to a new neighborhood soon for a better school for Emily and closer to Mr. D's work. If I had waited another month to visit, I might not have seen Emily again. If only I spent the whole weekend with them. Emily and I visited our old favorite spots holding hands. She was 14, already beautiful. I felt proud walking with her, seeing people smile as we passed. I didn't have much money, but I spent a month's allowance. That weekend, I stayed in the guest room and was only slightly surprised when Emily sneaked into my room around midnight. We just talked and kissed, nothing more. She was still just a kid in high school and I was a college student. I buried the wrong feelings and held her close. We fit together perfectly. She was 14. I was 19, but I knew then I loved Emily. I always had. One day she'd be mine. When I was 23, she was 18. We saw each other at least once a month. The first 2 summers were hard when I had to leave her behind and go home. My family wanted to know everything. I shared everything with my mom. We were very close, not as lovers, but more like best friends. We shared our dreams and thoughts. She told me all about her life with my dad. We leaned on each other a lot after Dad passed away. Mom and I were close, maybe closer than most mothers and sons. We cuddled during movies and I held her when she cried. I was her rock, her support. She was my father's and she was my mother. I would be there for her, kissing her tears away and reminding her of my love. I had promised my dad I would take care of her, and I kept that promise. I was known for keeping my word. My dad's last words were that he knew I'd do the right thing. That guided me. My sister, Sarah, and I were close, but not like with Mom. We teased and sometimes fought, but we loved each other, even if we rarely said it. The third summer I stayed in Pittsburgh for summer classes and a job. I had a car and spent all my free time with Emily. We were happy together. We weren't lovers, but we were closer than any couple I knew. I often sang to her, even though I wasn't very good. I played my dad's old guitar and wrote bad songs just for her. She loved it. I can still see her sitting by my feet, looking up at me with her big blue eyes filled with affection. If I didn't play Kisses, Emily, at least once she'd pout. She never asked, but I knew to end each little concert with that song. It was my way of telling her I loved her. I took her to the senior prom. She was tall, beautiful and charming, the prettiest girl I knew. Maybe I'm biased. I went all out. I rented a limo, took her to a fancy dinner and danced with her and her friends. Afterwards I took her to a hotel. I was 23 and she was 18. That night we were closer than ever before. I had only been with 2 other people and nothing could prepare me for her. I slowly took off her clothes, marveling at her beauty. She did the same, taking off my clothes piece by piece naked. We lay next to each other, gently touching, talking about our lives and futures. Our lips met and we moved closer together. I've wanted this for so long. She whispered, guiding me into her. We became one and it was magical, a perfect moment. I love you so much. I confessed I don't even know how it's possible. She smiled. I've always loved you, Anna, always. I kissed her softly. I know, promise me, we'll never be out again. I couldn't stand it, never. You mine, BB, now and forever. We were young, excited and deeply in love. That night was amazing. I didn't take her back home until nearly noon the next day. She had told her mother she wouldn't be coming home. But I was nervous. I needn't have been her mom. Mrs. D sat beside me on the couch, ruffling my hair. Relax, Anna, it was bound to happen. You were hers since she was 4 years old. I think everyone knew it. But you, I turned to her father. Mr. D, I want to marry your daughter. I'll graduate in less than a month and already have several job offers. I love her and promise I'll give her the best life I can. Yes, we have a big age difference, but we're in love. He smiled. Son, I couldn't ask for anyone better for my girl. You have my approval. Tears filled my eyes. Mrs. D hugged me and kissed my cheek. Of course, Anna, treat her well. She's still young and has been protected all her life, so be patient with her. I will. I can't stand being apart from her. That's good. Soon. You'll never have to be apart again. I was 24, she was 19. Our wedding was the event of a lifetime. Emily's father was well off and she was an only child. I had a great job near New York City and was on the path to success. She went to school in the city. We didn't live together, but spent every weekend together. She fit well into my large extended family. They adored her and she seemed to feel the same. Her parents paid for the wedding and didn't mind that over 200 guests were from my side alone. Most were family. We held the wedding in our small hometown Beddington, just near the NY state line in Connecticut. It's a place where a few families dominate. There weren't many hotels, but family found room for our guests. Mom gave Emily's family our home for the weekend and stayed with her sister. We set up huge tents, and my uncle, Father Patrick, came from the Cape to marry us. Everyone told us how handsome we were and how lucky I was. Emily would always say she was the lucky one, gaining not just a great husband but a wonderful family. She easily became a favorite. She was stunning and beautiful. Any man would notice her. Some might be nervous about the attention she got, but not me. I knew without a doubt that Emily only had eyes for me. Her face lit up whenever I entered a room. My cousin Daniel would tease her, mimicking my accent. That's our story. Simple yet full of love. She'd turn her head, her face brightening until she saw who was. Everyone else found it funny, except Emily. Once she told me, I stopped it firmly. People often joked that she had the same effect on me. I never denied it. She was mine now and forever. I would love her, care for her, protect her, and cherish her. My family helped me among them. She was safe, protected, and loved. The party went on for 2 days. We delayed our trip to Niagara Falls so we could be with our families and friends who came to celebrate. Weddings are so busy. I remember little about the event except our first dance, our vows, and our wedding night. I recall singing Emily for her standing with the band. I was in a dreamy state most of the time, but I'll never forget the image of her sitting on the edge of the stage, my sister adjusting her gown with that familiar look of love on Emily's beautiful face. I remember getting to our suite, leaning her over the couch, lifting her bridal train and being overwhelmed with love and desire. She was laughing, struggling with all the fabric, throwing it over her head. Emily even joked that Sarah, her maid of honor, wasn't doing her job keeping the dress under control. The laughing only lasted a short while as soft sounds of happiness filled the room. Her thigh-high white stockings showed off her lovely legs. One garter was missing, grabbed by a cousin who won the bouquet toss. Her little white lace thong moved aside as we came together. Her affection making me feel alive. I didn't last long. I was excited all evening and had been teased by family and friends. I was proud. I loved my new wife and thought she was the most beautiful woman alive. I wanted everyone to know it. We were close, playful, and in love. We were late to the barbecue the next day since she had to change her clothes twice. She joked about it. She was 19 and I was 24. I was the luckiest man alive. I married my soulmate when I was 28 and she was 23. 5 of us were there cheering loudly as she walked to get her MBA. We had been there a year earlier when she finished her bachelor's degree with top honors. Emily was so smart it was funny that I hadn't known it when we were kids. She was just the girl next door, not an amour. Emily had her own cheering section, her parents, my mom, Sarah and me, her loving husband. We cheered until we lost our voices. We had plans and could finally move forward. I was successful in business, mostly by luck. I worked on systems to make houses energy efficient. Once while working, I had an idea it was beyond my usual work, so I asked a couple of family members to help. We tested some devices at my home and I ended up with 3 patents in my name. 2 I gave to the company I worked for, which got me promotions and bonuses beyond what I expected. It was enough to take a risk and start my own business with the full support of my family. I left my old company after almost 6 years on good terms. They gained a lot from my work, and my new business, while in a similar field, was different enough not to be a threat. In fact, it brought them more work and they even sent some jobs my way. My name and reputation helped me a lot. Some customers found Honor Energy hard to work with because I detailed every part of a project before signing. But I always kept my promises: no extra costs, no missed deadlines, and quick support. Afterward, this won me repeat customers and new business through word of mouth. I was good in business, but at heart I was an inventor. I always looked for ways to make things work better or cheaper or find new solutions. My 3rd patent closed many deals and a 4th opened new doors. I hired my relatives because I could trust them completely, and peer pressure ensured they worked hard and stayed loyal. I ignored the saying about not working with family. I thought I knew better. I was wrong. Emily was 23 and I was 28. I hired my smart wife to handle the finances, something I disliked. I employed 11 family members and friends. My business was growing fast and I had to work hard to control it. I was the 3rd largest employer in our small town, bringing in more outside money than any 2 others combined. We didn't have a lot of money because I put the profits back into the business, but I had something better: the respect of my peers, the trust of my customers, the love of my family, and the best wife I could ever ask for. My life was great and only getting better. Emily had graduated, finishing the first part of our life together. No more schooling. We would work together to grow our business and, more importantly, a family. On her graduation cruise, We spent more time in our cabin than outside. We rekindled our love, which had suffered a little from starting a business and being apart due to 5 years of college. Nothing serious, but we noticed it. We were luckier than most, always honest and open about our feelings and concerns. We recognized our problems, talked about them honestly and worked on them as best as we could. During those early years, Emily finished school with no debt. My business had been running for over a year and the toughest times were behind us. I wasn't carrying all the risk alone anymore. We were partners in life, love and business. I was 28 and she was 23. 2 weeks after our second honeymoon, I found out I was going to be a dad. I was 33 and she was 28. Our life seemed perfect, or so I thought. My business had grown to over 50 employees, mostly extended family members. We were important in our community, bringing in money, visitors and extra business. My wife was close with my extended family. Our 2 kids, Marie Carol and William Billy Ethan, were happy, loving and a bit spoiled. Life was busy, as expected. After Marie was born, Emily worked fewer hours to take care of her. After Billy was born, she stopped working to be a stay-at-home mom. She still helped by giving advice and managing the money. The business kept me very busy. It was hard supporting myself and half of my extended family. With Emily working part-time, I took over many of her tasks. I traveled more, including trips overseas to meet with our suppliers. I not only managed the business, but also worked on my inventions, as if that was another full-time job. I handed off a lot of daily responsibilities to my cousin Daniel, who had helped me with my first designs when I moved to town after Dad's death. Cousin Daniel was one of my new friends who helped me settle in. We'd been best friends since I was 14. He was smart, hardworking and trustworthy, even though he teased a lot. I trusted him to make good decisions for the business and to handle hiring, because he knew everyone. Emily and I lived comfortably, but not extravagantly. Her car was a bit nicer than most, but I drove a 5-year-old Ford truck. Our house was custom-built on the edge of town with nice features, but wasn't huge. It was about 3,500 feet with a 3-car garage and a nice yard, no tennis courts, no pool, no long driveway, just a nice home on a picturesque lot. We could afford more, but we were happy living simply among family and friends. Life was good. Our marriage was strong, though we didn't get as much alone time. Due to our busy lives and 2 kids, we were still deeply in love. It was a Thursday night, 3 days before I had to leave for China on a 10-day business trip. We had put the children to bed and Emily came into my study wearing a new nightgown that explained part of her recent shopping trip. She leaned against the door frame. Long night. I turned off my computer. The numbers could wait until morning. Standing up, I smiled and walked towards her. She giggled and ran off to our bedroom with me, chasing after. We spent a playful and loving evening together, laughing and enjoying each other's company, until we were both exhausted. Afterward, she lay beside me breathing hard. I stroked her skin. "That was amazing, Aming," she murmured, lips brushing my shoulder. "You always amazing," I told her. She turned to look at me seriously and kissed me gently. "Are you happy, Anna?" Her question surprised me. "Absolutely. I have the perfect wife, 2 beautiful children, a successful business and the respect of my friends and family. What's not to love? You spent so much time away from us. I thought we'd be spending more time together, not less." As things got better, she was right. I knew it and I kept telling myself that after the next big project I'd slow down. It had never quite happened. "Are you happy, BB?" She gave me a sad smile. "Content, I guess. Happy enough." "What's enough? What's wrong?" I asked. "I miss you when you're gone working late or when you leave the house before dawn. I know it's for us, for me, for the family. I guess I'm just selfish. I want more of your time for us. We haven't had time for just you and me in a long time. We haven't gone on a vacation in 2 years." I held her close and gave her a squeeze. "I'm sorry, you're right. I promise I'll do what I can to make time for us. Do you have to go to China? Can't someone else go? Why does it always have to be you? I wish someone else could go. The last 2 times, I let anyone else handle the vendors. Things got messed up. Make Daniel go. Isn't that part of his job? Let him earn his big paycheck, which he's always bragging about. Daniel keeps this business running. He's in operations, managing the people. I don't think he could handle this. She seemed frustrated. Why does it always have to be you make the big decisions? You get the customers. You keep everyone happy. You create all the new products. If nobody in this town can do the job, find someone who can. I rolled her over and kissed her softly. I'm so sorry, BB. Your happiness is more important than anything to me. You know that, don't you? In my heart. I do. Sometimes my head wanders when I visit our relatives and see the husbands coming home at 5:15 for 6:00 dinner, and I know that you won't be home for hours. I wonder when you're gone and I'm alone in this house with our kids. I wonder when I go to a barbecue or a party and you're not there because you're solving some crisis or visiting a client or making something in your workshop. I wonder. I kissed her face softly, tickling her gently until she giggled. Never wonder, you are everything to me, promise, she asked, anxious lie. I've been yours since you were 4 years old. You know that. She giggled again and lightly bit my lip. Everyone knows the playful nibbling made me feel warm inside. I pressed against her. Give me a few more months. There will be changes. I've got several things going on. I'm trying to slow it all down. Let me finish this trip, close these last couple of deals, and you and I will take off for 2 weeks anywhere in the world. You want to go? Just the 2 of us. You bribing me? She teased, pushing back against me. I want it as much as you do. I feel too much responsibility toward this town and my relatives. They need to make do on their own. I can't support the whole place. I'm going to cut back. I promise it's already in the works. She smiled and hugged me tight. Love me, Honor. I did, long and slow, holding her, kissing her, doing my best to let her know that she was all that mattered. I could make those promises because they were true. I had 2 new patents in the works. A most important current one was 3 years from expiring. I was negotiating with a big company to transfer it to them for a good amount of money. One of my new patents would do a similar job better and we'd have another 7 years of protection. I had spent the last couple of years training Daniel to take over the business side of things. It was going slow, but I'd always be there to help him. I was in private talks with the VP of Business Development for my old company. They had changed their top people and he was looking he would be going on the trip with me, a sort of final interview and a chance to meet our 2 most important vendors. The company I was negotiating the patent transfer with was sending a team along as well, part of their final checks. This was one trip that nobody but I could go on, but that was going to change. I was letting go a little and would be spending more of my time doing what I loved and less time with the business part of things. Most importantly, I could do more work from home and put in more reasonable hours. My time would be spent with my family, with my children and the love of my life. The trip was a success. Exhausting, but everything I needed. The VP needed 4 weeks to close things up where he was and wanted a few more weeks to spend with his family. I gave him all the details and told him what we could afford. He would be getting a nice chunk of stock if he stuck with the company at least 5 years. I told him to go home and talk it over with his wife. I gave him a week to give me an answer and jokingly told him that I didn't want an answer before then. I wasn't looking at anyone else for the position, but it was a big decision and he needed to make sure his family was good with it. The patent transfer was almost done. I was told they were going to have a final meeting to approve the deal on the Thursday. After they got back, I should be prepared to sign the papers that Friday, Monday at the latest. While we were in China, I received the notice that one of my patents was approved. The most important one. My company's future was assured for the next 7 years, at least everything was going my way upon my return. Emily spoiled me, as she did after every trip. She even sent the kids to Mom's house for the night on Tuesday, so we could have some alone time. I wanted to tell her everything that was going on, but I wanted to wait until the patent was officially transferred and Gil had accepted the job. She could always tell when I was hiding something and kept asking what was up. We were alone in the living room. She was wearing lace panties and teasing me. I could tell she wanted to know what was going on. Spill it. I know something's happening, she said, looking up at me. I tried to keep cool. Remember the last talk we had about spending more time with the family? She smiled but kept teasing. Of course, and things are coming together, but nothing's final. Give me 1 more week. I'll tell you everything, then maybe I'll take a week to finish this. She joked. Do you trust me? I asked. She nodded. Always 1 week. Emily had a birthday coming up on Monday. I had everyone working on a surprise party. Maybe she thought my secret was about her birthday, so she didn't push me anymore 1 week. It better be good, she said. Then gave me a kiss. I promise 1 week. The Saturday birthday party was great, even if she might not have been too surprised, Yura said. It's hard to keep secrets in our small town. She did seem a bit shocked when about 50 friends and family jumped out to surprise her when she came back from the mall with Mom and Sarah. She was really surprised to see her parents. I'd flown them in for the weekend along with 2 of her best friends from college. She thanked me a lot that night and the next morning. She spent Sunday morning with her friends and family. I took her parents to the airport and they thanked me too. Emily spent the afternoon catching up with her girlfriends and I sneaked into work for a bit to try and finish my plans to work less and spend more time with the family. I was 33 and she was 29. My world changed. On Monday, I went to the city to finish the patent deal. There were 3 patents, but one was the most important. What I thought would take all day took less than an hour. No surprises, no last-minute changes. I signed the papers and got a check with 7 digits. The first number was a 2. The patents were owned by Honor BBLLC, a company I had started, not my main business. They agreed to license the patents back to us for 6 weeks to stop using them. They were happy and I was thrilled. I rushed home to tell Emily the good news. There were cars in the driveway, but that was normal. Emily loved having people over. The cars weren't a surprise. Finding Emily in the living room with Daniel in a very intimate situation while his brother Dale watched was a surprise. She didn't see me right away. Music was playing loudly and there was a video on the TV. Dale was sitting and watching her. Looked like they were giving her their birthday presents. Happy 29th birthday, Emily. I guess they didn't notice me. I stood there for a few seconds totally shocked. They weren't saying anything. No bad words about me, no declarations of love. Just the 3 of them together. My life felt ruined. I stepped outside and closed the door. I didn't take pictures or get angry. It seemed clear that she was doing what she wanted. In a daze, I walked back to my car. I thought about going back in to confront them. I wondered how long it had been going on and how they kept it a secret in our small town. I mostly wondered how they could do this to me, my wife, my best friend, the mother of my kids. Forget Dale. He was always a jerk, but Daniel, he was married with 3 kids. They had ruined everything. Doubt filled my mind. There were no secrets in Beyond. I picked up my phone and called Mom. Hey, Honor, how's business in the big city? Great, I'm on my way back. I couldn't reach Emily, do you know where she is? Mom didn't pause. I think she's with Sarah getting a makeover. She left the kids with me. When are you coming back? I'll let her know when she calls. Alarms rang in my head. Never mind, I'll surprise her, got some big news today. Mom responded quickly. That's great. Can you give me an idea of when are you still in the city? My heart raced. No secrets in Eddington call me paranoid, but I felt sure Mom was covering for Emily, my own mother. Yeah, but I have some things to do first, it'll be a while. Mom sighed in relief. You just be careful. I'll kiss the kids for you. I hung up and made a quick decision. I opened the side door to the garage and lifted the garage door by hand. This way, the opener wouldn't make any noise, but I doubted anyone would hear it anyway. In less than 5 minutes I poked holes in all 3 gas tanks. It was easy. I put some strong nails on my floor jack and lifted it under the gas tanks. After that I took a can of gas and poured it between the 3 cars, the 2 in the driveway and Emily's in the garage. I grabbed a spare propane tank for the barbecue and opened the valve between Daniel and Dale's cars. Then I turned my vehicle around, left it running, took a flare from my emergency roadside kit, lit it and threw it into the leaking gas. I jumped into the truck and drove away. I wasn't 50 yards away when the explosion started. I was sure nobody would get hurt, since the garage was separate from the house. If I was lucky, the fire might spread to the house. Daniel should have enough time to get out and save everyone. Though. While driving to work I called Gil. I sadly told him the company might shut down and he shouldn't take the VP job. He had many questions, but when I explained that I wouldn't be part of Honor Energy anymore, he understood. I told him I'd send him a check for the time he worked with me in China and for his trouble. I also assured him I'd consider him for any future business. As I left, I saw my sister's car turning up my street. Any doubts I had about my mom and sister being involved vanished. I saw the volunteer fire truck drive past me on its way to the fire. Ironically, it was a truck that Honor Energy had donated to the town. When I arrived at the warehouse, I ignored all greetings and went straight to my office. My cousin, Jill, our admin, asked if everything was okay. No interruptions. Not for anyone, not even the president got it. She nodded, looking scared, and closed the door. It took me about an hour to transfer what I needed. I had offshore accounts for most of our international business. It was partly to save on taxes. I moved all the money to another Cayman Islands account for Honor BBLC. I called our 2 biggest customers to apologize that we couldn't complete their projects and told them I was stepping down for personal reasons. They were upset, but I assured them I'd return all their money. Roger Hammond from Hammond's Luxury Homes didn't take the news well. He was one of my first clients and a friend. After a long talk, I agreed to supply him with the materials he could only get from us, plus an extra 10, just in case. I promised to transfer all designs and knowledge needed for his project to the company of his choice. Honor, it's me you are talking to. He said slowly, what's going on? This isn't like you'd never bail on a job. I can't stay. I admitted personal issues forget personal issues. He snapped. You're the best. You can't let some small stuff ruin your business. I laughed bitterly. Small stuff. My right-hand man is with my wife. Impossible. Emily. She adores you. Somebody's lying to you. Look into it. Maybe you're right. Why believe my own eyes? I only saw her on him in our living room while his brother waited. My mom and sister cover said for her watching the kids and lying about her whereabouts. What could I be thinking? Right, I should go look again. He was quiet. I'm sorry, Honor. I can't believe it. If you need anything, call me. I mean it. I appreciate it. You're a great customer and friend. Sorry to dump on you. Forget the business. Do what you need to promise. You'll call me soon. Visit if you can. I felt choked up. This man stood by me when my own family betrayed me. I will. I've got to go, lots to do before the sheriff gets here. I wondered why I hadn't heard from Uncle Luke. Dad's brother understood. Good luck, and I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Call when you can. I phoned the company attorney and after some effort, got him on the line. I explained what I needed and turned away all questions. He was hesitant at first but finally agreed. I told him I needed everything done by the end of the next day and offered an extra $10,000 if he met the deadline. He assured me they'd find a way. I finished the essential and was surprised no one had called my cell. I walked out of my office and Jill quickly hung up her phone. "No calls for me?" I asked. She shook her head. "No sir, fine. Tomorrow at 11:00 a.m. I want a company-wide meeting in the warehouse. Everyone must attend, no matter their shift. Anyone not there will be fired. Set it up." She looked pale but nodded. I got in my car, turned off my cell phone and left town. I bought some new clothes and toiletries, checked into a nice hotel room, ordered room service and thought about what I was going to do with my life. I woke up early after a rough night of nightmares. I kept seeing my wife cheating on me with everyone. I knew. Even my mother and sister were waiting their turn behind her. They were all in a factory and sweet Emily was part of the assembly line where men took their turns with her. When Emily took a break, Mom stepped in. I felt sick and couldn't eat, but I managed to get a few things done. That made me feel a little better. At 11:05 I rode my new Harley to the office. Maybe I was going through a midlife crisis. Spending $2,000 on the bike felt like money well spent. I never bought anything for myself and it was about time I did. Daniel and my mother were waiting at the entrance. I parked the motorcycle on the sidewalk and took off my helmet. Both of them looked surprised. Mom took a step toward me, but I held up my hand. "Not now. I'll talk to you later," I said. She stopped stunned. Daniel walked beside me. "Not a word. Daniel, don't do anything rash on her," he started. I turned and punched him in the face. He staggered back stunned. "I told you not a word. Daniel." I walked to the warehouse, ignoring everyone who greeted me and stepped up to the platform. The room went quiet. There was a microphone but I didn't need it. There were only about 50 people there. I knew everyone who worked for me. I had interviewed and hired each one personally. I saw Jill in the crowd, Aaron and Misty. They're fired 2 weeks severance plus 1 week per year. I said. Jill piled, then nodded slowly. "Does anyone here not know why I'm here today?" I asked loudly. Some people mumbled and about 10 raised their hands. "You folks step over there," I said, pointing to the side. "I'll make sure you're filled in later." I nodded to my admin to take care of it. Took a minute or two for them to move. "Excellent. I have a simple question for all of you. I expect complete honesty. I think I deserve that. I've treated you all with respect and mostly as friends." People murmured and nodded. Who here suspected or knew what was going on with my wife? My Uncle Jack stepped forward. He was one of my first hires and ran the floor. "Are you going to fire them?" I shook my head. "Nobody else is being fired. I just want some honesty for once. Isn't there any honor among you?" Uncle Jack stepped closer. I'd say almost everyone had some idea. Nobody wanted to hurt you. We figured she'd get it out of her system and straighten up. No one wanted to break up your marriage. Why don't you and I talk about this privately?" I turned away. "I'll ask one more time, who here suspected or knew what was going on?" Almost everyone eventually raised their hands. It started with just a few, including Uncle Jack. Soon most had their hands raised. Jill's hand was up, and so was Laura Thompson's. Few could look me in the eye. "Thank you for your honesty. I wish things were different. Maybe someone could have stopped it. Someone could have told me privately and things could have been different. As you can imagine, I can't work with people I consider disloyal, disrespectful and untrustworthy." Uncle Jack stepped forward again. "You promised nobody would be fired," he said flatly. "I did, and as most of you know, or I hope you do, I'm a man of my word. I'm stepping down." my wife now owns the business. You have enough funds and work to keep going for at least 4 months, maybe 6, if you don't mess up. Daniel is in charge now. I wish you all success. There was a lot of talking and it was getting loud. I had made my point. That was supposed to be it, walk away, taking the high ground, but I couldn't do it, strike that last part. I've never lied to you and I'm not starting now. I detest you, all of you. If just one person had done the right thing and stood by me, things would be different. You dug your own grave. I hope the business fails and you all lose everything that matters to you, just as I did today. May you all pay for this total silence. I looked at my Uncle Jack, my office. I turned to Jill, find Daniel and send him to my office as well. If he's not there in 10 minutes, Bill will be president. Send him. Uncle Jack followed me to my office and started to speak. I interrupted. This is not a discussion. Uncle Jack, I always liked and respected you. That's no longer the case. You betrayed me, like everyone else. This is business and we won't talk about anything else. Understood? After he asked. Maybe I have other things I need to do, don't ask. He nodded. Sadly, we only had to wait a couple of minutes before Daniel came in. He had a swollen lip and some tissue paper stuck in his nose. I almost smiled. Sit, I told him, honor. It didn't mean anything. He began. You have to shut up and sit. Don't make me come across this desk. He sat down. Today is my last day here. Daniel. The company is yours to run in my absence, unless Emily decides. Otherwise, I'm giving her the business. His surprised face was unforgettable. Emily will handle the money. She knows the business well. Daniel, you're in charge of daily operations, sales and marketing. Jack, you manage the floor. Important changes are coming. He nodded, looking serious. Honor Energy can't use the conversion controller assembly. In 6 weeks we lost the patent and firmware rights. You need to find another solution. Uncle Jack looked shocked, but that's the core of our business, not my problem. I'm no longer part of this. In 6 weeks you can't make them anymore. If I were you, I'd make as many as possible before the deadline. Work around the clock. Do whatever it takes to get materials, even pay extra after that, find a replacement. It's up to you. Uncle Jack slowly nodded, deep in thought. Carlisle is not a customer anymore. Stop all production for them. Hammond isn't either, but we will give them the materials I promised. I handed Uncle Jack a printout delivered to Roger Hammond in person within 3 days. I'll do it myself. Uncle Jack said good. I turned to Daniel. Here are the passwords, accounts and keys. I gave him a sealed envelope. I'll work with Emily to finalize the transfer, but she already handles most accounts. I just need to remove my name and give her limited power of journey. You have enough funds to keep things running. There will be challenges, but it's your problem now. I stood up and left the office, ignoring Uncle Jack's extended hand and Daniel's questions. I got on my motorcycle, heading to see what was left of the home I built for my love. There was only twisted metal and burned ground where Daniel's and Dale's cars had been. The garage was mostly gone, collapsed on Emily's Volvo. The fire had damaged the side of the house near the garage but didn't spread further. A work crew was there fixing the burnt entry and laundry room, boarding up broken windows. I walked inside, surprised there was no police tape. No one was home. I looked around, thinking about what to take. Sadly, I only wanted pictures of my kids. I grabbed photos from an album and left everything else, starting over. I realized how little I needed. I regretted throwing my phone away in anger, so I went to Martinson's and bought a new one. I called my mother. Honor. Where are you? We need to talk. She said, out of breath. I'll be at your house at 7:00. Make sure Emily is there. Thank God, you'll talk, right? This isn't some revenge. No, we'll talk. Have her kids there too. They are here. You can come see them now. They miss you and don't understand why they can't go home or why you're not here. I'll see them at 7:00. I hung up. I went to the Harley dealership. They had finished installing new tie-downs on my truck and showed me how to use the motorcycle ramp. I loaded my bike on the truck, packed up the ramp and went to the store, ignoring the whispers around me, returning to the office. My papers had arrived earlier than expected. Jill handed them to me. Anything else I can do for you, Mr. Nolan? I shook my head coldly. No, you've done enough. Jill, I expected better from you. I thought you were loyal. She had tears in her eyes. I thought I was doing the right thing. Nobody wanted to see you and Emily breaking up. We tried talking to her. I swear, I believe you, but you should have talked to me, supported me. You betrayed me. It hurts more from you. I won't make that mistake again. She sat down crying as I walked away with the papers. I ate at a diner knowing I wouldn't eat at Mom's house. It was a business visit. I expected some empty excuses and apologies, but I'd let them talk before finishing what I had to do. My cousin Emma served me roast beef and fries. She sat down across from me. Take her back, Anna. Forgive her. It doesn't have to end like this. I'm eating, Emma. I don't want to talk about it. Come on, Anna. We're family. We love you both. You can work this out. I put down my utensils. No, Emma, I have a failed marriage with a woman. I don't know if she ever loved me, and kids I'm not sure are mine. My mother and sister betrayed me. Friends and family took her side. I have no family. Now, if you keep pushing, I'll leave. She stood up angrily. You are family. That's not something you can choose. We care about you. I didn't reply. The fries were pretty good. I was annoyed when another so-called family member sat down across from me. Anna. He greeted Uncle Jimmy. I took another fry. He looked nervous. I don't want to interfere. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I should have told you what little I knew. I raised an eyebrow. What did you know? He shrugged. She started acting wrongly about 3 months ago. She was flirting with Daniel more than she should have, especially in public and at some parties. He was all over her and she didn't stop him. When you went on that trip to the West Coast, people said she spent a lot of time with him at your house. It was just a rumor, but it seemed true and I should have told you then. There was a lot of gossip. It's hard to understand how you and his wife didn't find out. I thought their thing would end long before this. He took a deep breath. I was such an idiot. I let some people talk me out of saying something on your trip to China. They were even more open. He missed almost every day at work and they went out to dinner together twice, even holding hands. Jean asked me what was going on and I told her my thoughts and what I'd heard. She got really mad at me. You know she's not from here and doesn't have the same twisted loyalties as others. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. I'm so ashamed, Anna, ashamed of the whole town. You did right by me, gave me a job when I needed one, promoted me twice, even though I have no real education. I nodded at him. You earned those promotions, Uncle Jimmy. You're smarter than most of those college kids and you're dependable. I've never had a problem with your work. He shook his head. I understand, Anna. No problem with my work, but a lot of problems with me as a person. I let you down and I'm sorry. He held his head in his hands. You're paying for my kids. College, you put 2 people every year through college. Even your own secretary didn't tell you what was going on. How am I supposed to tell my son his schooling is done? Because I and everyone else in this town have no honor. Don't tell Stephen anything. He didn't do anything wrong. His scholarship is still good, funded from the start. He can finish his degree. He'll be a fine engineer. Uncle Jimmy wiped his eyes. That's all I wanted to say. You do what you have to forget the rest of them. I'm sorry I didn't do the right thing and I'll always regret it. You deserve much better. Thank you. I told him. I meant it. He got up and stood for a second. Honor. I've known you a long time. I've never heard you lie, not even a small lie. I heard what you said to Emma. Don't start lying now, even to yourself. You know that woman loves you, always has and always will. Whatever made her do this, it wasn't because she didn't love you. I glared at him. Is that all? He nodded. I'm sorry for interrupting your dinner. I hope someday you can forgive me. I pray that before that you can find a way to forgive her for your own sake. For some reason the fries were no longer tempting. It was tough to get out of the truck and walk up to the front door. In some ways, Mom hurt me more than Emily. We had always been close. We could talk about anything. Yet she hid the truth from me about my wife cheating. What happened to? Blood is thicker than water. I didn't know how to forgive that. Not sure I could. I rang the doorbell and waited. After a minute, Mom answered. Why'd you ring the bell? I wanted to come in and talk. I said, waiting for her to invite me in. She looked at me. Sadly, you're always welcome here. It's your home too. You know that. Not anymore. Not after this. She looked angry. Are you coming in or are you going to stand there all day? I turned and left. We'll do this some other time. Mom ran after me, grabbing my arm. No, we'll do this now. I pulled my arm away. Mrs. Nolan, you no longer have the right to tell me what I can or can't do. Understand that when you can be civil, we can talk. Why are you acting like this, Honor? This isn't. You're better than this. I'm not acting. I'm sick of her, you and everyone else in this town. I just want to finish things up and leave this place behind. I walked to my truck and she ran in front of me, blocking my way. Your children. Don't you want to see your children? Of course I do. I will. If you or anyone else tries to keep them from me, I'll burn this house down and everyone in it, this whole town, if I have to. She stared at me in shock. Why are you so angry? Why am I angry? I was about to explode. You have the nerve to ask that. My wife cheats. My best friend is with her, my mother covers for her and my sister too. The whole company knew and is siding with her. Why wouldn't I be angry? Stop, honey, you don't want your kids to see you like this. There's more to it. You know it. Come in, please. We need to talk. You have to give her a chance. I don't have to do anything. I turned and headed back to the house. I'll listen, then you will. I'll visit with the kids. That's all. She walked beside me. Try to be calm, please. No shouting, Emily is a mess. The kids are upset. Let's not make this worse. I laughed hard. To make it worse, isn't it? 10 foot inside the door, little Marie came running up to me. I picked her up and hugged her. Billy was coming over, walking and crawling. He still wasn't great at walking. I picked him up too, holding my kids. At least I hoped they were mine. Daddy. Marie squealed. Mommy, sad, you have to fix it. That had always been my job when things went wrong. Daddy fixed them, but this time I wasn't sure I could or even wanted to. I might have left if it weren't for the 2 kids in my arms. I'll see what I can do. Sweetheart. She gave me a kiss. When can we go home soon? Daddy has some things to do, but you, Billy and Mommy, can go home soon. You too, Daddy, you too, no more travel. She said firmly. I didn't answer. I couldn't, she wouldn't understand, and honestly, I didn't either. I put them down and saw Emily standing nervously nearby. I stretched out my hand to stop her from coming closer. You wanted to talk. I'll listen. That's all, she nodded, and then my mother interrupted over dinner. I made my roast. I expected that a bribe. Her roast was my favorite. I already ate. Sarah stuck her head out of the kitchen. Well, that's perfect. Didn't anyone tell him about dinner? Mom turned red. Why don't we go to the living room? Heg. Can you feed the kids? My sister sighed loudly. Sure, why not? It's not like I'm part of the family. I sat in the armchair while Emily and Mom sat on the couch. I pulled some folded papers out of my back pocket and put them beside me. I'm listening. Emily looked at me, then at Mom, gave her a nod, preparing her. I suppose I have no excuse. Honor, I've been a fool. You have to know I love you more than anything, and it's killing me. What I've done, Daniel, means nothing to me, and Dale even less. I sat, still not responding, just waiting to hear her out. 3 times. I was with him 3 times. The last one was a mistake. It was never meant to happen again. I can't tell you why it did. After our talk, I couldn't keep doing it. The first time was when you went to California. The second time was during your last trip. I didn't want you to go. I was scared about what might happen. I begged you to send him instead. Remember, is that all I asked? She looked nervous, as if hoping someone else would speak for her. I wasn't thinking right. I don't love him. I don't even like him. He wanted me and kept coming after me. He told me you were cheating, but I didn't believe him. I knew you wouldn't. He was always flattering me, touching me, pushing limits. I don't know why I gave in. I was lonely, missing you, and he was there. I waited patiently. What are you going to do? She asked softly. I'll never do anything like that again. I swear. I'll spend my life making it up to you. We'll get past this. I know you love me. I love you more than anything. We'll be fine, won't we? I shrugged. I'll be fine eventually. I don't know about you. I have one question, are the kids mine? She looked shocked. How could you ask that? Of course they are. I'll need proof DNA tests. Get that done. This week I turned to my mother. What do you have to say about your part in this? She looked surprised. What part? I just want to help you both. Forgive each other. I laughed. Forgive each other. What should she forgive me for burning your house down, for leaving her alone? So much for not confronting her earlier. How long did you know, Mrs. Nolan? How long were you covering for her? Mom turned red. I wasn't covering for her. I was trying to fix things. How long? I snapped. Why does it matter? It's over and done. She won't do it again. Damn it. How long? Judy. I shouted. If you can't speak politely, you can leave my house. I stood and threw the papers at Emily's sign. These don't make any changes. I'll call you to tell you where to drop them off. I faced my mother. I hate what you've done to us. Worse than what she did, you betrayed your only son for a cheater. I don't think I'll ever forgive you. Dad asked me to take care of you, so for his sake, you'll keep getting $3,000 a month as long as you live. Other than that, I don't want any contact with you. I turned and walked away. Mom yelled, don't you dare walk away. We're not done here. I'm done with all of you, with all of this sign. The papers don't call, don't write. I don't want to talk to any of you. Emily was sobbing. Mom was yelling. The kids were crying. Sarah followed me out the door. Don't leave on a knot like this. You said you would listen. I didn't slow down. I did listen. Emily told me what I already knew and gave me no reason to trust her again. Mom wouldn't even tell me the truth. How long have you known? She didn't hesitate from the start, before she even did it the first time. We told her it was wrong. She said it was just flirting, teasing. She wanted your attention. We tried to stop her. We yelled at her after she did it. She felt terrible. Then, 2 months later, she did it again after swearing it was over. I got in my truck and Sarah climbed in the passenger seat. Get out, Peg, I don't want you here. You sided with her. You can stick with her. All the liars can stick together. We stuck with her because we knew going to you would be useless. The only way to fix it was to fix her. Besides, everyone would take her side. Nobody likes you, Honor. We love you, but Jesus, nobody can stand you most of the time. I don't get how she does it. I turned to her. Get out. I don't need you. I don't need any of you. She shook her head. No, they had their say. Now it's my turn. I started the truck and pulled out. Where are you going? Sarah snapped. To my hotel, away from all of you and all of this. You better get out soon. It's a long walk back. You always have to be so tough. Honor, you never bend, can't. You see. That's hurting. You think you're so good, so fair. Nobody wants to be around someone like that. Sure, they trust you and respect you, but most of all they fear you. That's silly. Nobody fears me. Clearly you remember Cousin Robbie. You fired him for smoking pot on the loading dock. Of course I did, using illegal drugs at work. It's obvious to you. It is his family. You could have warned him, giving him a break, but you fired him. I didn't fire his wife. I gave him 6 weeks' pay. I even offered to help him get into rehab. He was smoking 1 joint. That's all. That's enough. He knew better. He could have waited to do it at home, not at work. I can't accept that. What about Trey and Lisa? What about them? I didn't fire them. I probably should have known. You told everyone about them. You gave them 30 days without pay and told them to go home and sort things out with their spouses. You said if they even flirted at work again, you'd fire them both. I had to. We could get sued for allowing a workplace romance, especially between a boss and someone who works for her. No, you could have spoken to them politely, warned them about their behavior. You could have told them to keep it out of the office and let them fix their problems in private. Instead, you made it public. I did not. I never said a word to anyone. You didn't need to making them take a month off without pay, said everything. They shouldn't be messing around in the first place, especially not at work. I even made up the money to them in their Christmas bonus. I guess you're always going to side with rule breakers, now first them and now her. You're right. Of course you're always right, Honor. They broke the rules. They had to pay. You couldn't treat them like family. Try to help them. No, you caused 1 divorce and 1 messed up marriage. I didn't cause anything. I didn't cheat. They did. They got caught. There are consequences. Of course there are. With you there always. Are you surprised? Nobody told you about your wife. Nobody would ever side with you. They are afraid. We all have our sins. Everyone except perfect Honor. We all love Emily. She's more like family than you are. She listens, she's helpful. She's always involved. She cares. You have your business and nothing else. I guess that won't be a problem anymore. Then will it? She looked at me. What does that mean? You must have heard I don't have the business anymore, It's hers now, hers and Daniel's and all the rest of you. I quit. She owns it. Daniel gets to run it. Let them figure out how to keep it going. Keep the business flowing. Keep the money coming in. Let them support this ungrateful family and everyone else in this lousy town. I'm done. All the better. If nobody likes me, I don't like them. Her voice shook as she turned to face me. What did you do, Honor? I told you I quit. I'm done. I don't need this stress. I didn't love the job. I did it for all of you, for her, for the family, for this whole town. I gave them jobs, great jobs, paying better than anyone in the industry, the best benefits. Who else provides 100 family health coverage at no cost? I put their kids through college. I gave them loans when they needed it. I bring 10 million a year into this town and they betray me. All of them went well, forget them and forget you. I'm done. You can't do that. What are you going to do now? Who's going to keep the business going? Daniel can't. You can't just walk away. I can, and I did. They say the job interfered with my marriage like I wanted that. Well, never again. No job, no family. It's easier this way. This is foolish. You love that business and you love Emily. You can't walk away from them. I never loved the business. I love making things, inventing things, all the other stuff I did, because someone had to and nobody else did it well enough. I did love Emily past tense. Now I hate her. Hate what she did and what she did to us. I can walk away. I am. I know you're angry, Honor. I understand. I do. You need to take some time. Think it over, take a break. I don't know. Take a trip or something. Get your head straight. You can't destroy your company out of anger. You can't walk away from the love of your life and 10 years of marriage over a stupid mistake. I'm not destroying my company. It's still there. I just won't destroy my life because of it. Let someone else do the hard work for a while. I don't have to be the tough one anymore. I don't have to worry about payroll and where the next job is going to come from. It's not my concern how we're going to stay ahead. I won't stay up nights thinking about each project finishing on time and doing it well, not my problem. Now let someone else worry about it. My sister was quiet until I pulled up in front of the hotel. You're going to mess things up for all of us because of what she did. Aren't you? Not just her and Daniel. You're going to ruin everything. I'm not doing anything besides. Any one of you could have stopped this 2 months ago, even a week ago, but nobody liked me enough to side with me, not one single person. Why should I care about any of you? We're family. Honor your family, not anymore. I opened the door. I'm going to my room now. Do whatever you want. You're not taking me home. No way. I told you I wouldn't, and I meant it. Get a cab, walk, or call somebody. I don't care. You mean nothing to me. You betrayed me like everyone else. You ruined my marriage just as much as she did. We tried to save it. She shouted. Well, I hope you're better at running the company than saving my marriage. I left her by the truck. I didn't feel great about it, but it didn't bother me much either. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the story, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to get notifications for updates.